Now let's continue this conversation with former FBI Supervisory Special Agent Steve Burmeister. Mr. Burmeister, thank you for joining us today on Morning in America.
Thank you for having me.
So we understand now that all four students were asleep. That means that nobody witnessed this. Is that right?
We don't know that for a fact. There may be individuals out there that may have witnessed this, who have left the scene. There's a lot of things that we do not know at this particular time.
I just mentioned this to Robert. Moscow, Idaho is a pretty small town. It's mainly a college population. I wonder if you're trying to eliminate people, if you're trying to figure out how big your pool of suspects are, it's got to be a lot smaller than in crimes that have happened in other places.
Well, typically in a small town, most times people know everybody in the town that are going on. There may be cameras that are out there that have captured things. So those are the sorts of individual items that investigators are honing in on. And I suspect at this particular point in time, the investigators have a lot of information already. Some of that information they are not disclosing to the public. And it's not that the reason that they're trying to hide anything. I think it's that they're trying to protect the investigation. And it's a fine balance when anytime you have investigators involved, that they're trying to provide information to the public, yet at the same time preserve the sanctity of that investigation. You may have witnesses that come forward with various statements, and you'll want to immediately cross-check those statements against the facts that you already know. So when you look at the individual material in this case, there are a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of questions. And I understand that the public is frustrated, and that's understandable.
I think the public is probably frustrated, especially if you live in that area, because it just seems like, hey, if this person, and we've been calling him a guy, but it could be a woman, if this person is still out there, then give us more information. We need to know how to protect ourselves.
Exactly, and again, that breeds frustration, and it's a tough decision on the part of law enforcement as far as what they will provide to the public. I think they try to provide as much information to protect the public, but again, preserving the sanctity of that investigation is paramount, because you can let information out that could jeopardize the overall investigation, and at this point, that's something they do not want to do.
The police department there in Idaho had said that it was one of the roommates that was sleeping that was not obviously a victim of this crime that had called 911, but that person, 911 was not the first call that person made, that they had called friends over to say, we think our friend might have passed out. They didn't realize that their friend had died in the night. And now there are folks that want the 911 call released. I wonder if that would be helpful, if that would hurt the investigation, if there is any impact, and there would be a reason not to release that.
Well, that's one of those curious items. People always want to know and hear the actual call itself and allow themselves to make that determination. Again, there might be pieces of information on that 911 call that law enforcement perhaps do not want the public to be aware of, again, to protect the investigation. I'm not trying to protect the police department here, but again, I'm trying to think about the investigation overall. So there may be nuggets of information in that call that people do not necessarily need to know.
All right, that is former FBI Supervisory Special Agent Steve Burmeister. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.